When we need it.
Taking a water.
It would seem that I know.
Good old days, Norm, when that was pulled up, all Norm Chamberlain up, came down with the tanker and filled it up for us.
When did we start treating this tanks? The 82 two's got poly tank, but 82 doesn't, so we fill it with inhibitor chemicals, really stuff you don't want in your pool. Just a thought.
It was a murky one.
Another reason I didn't want it.
And then pond water, ooh, you don't know what you're gonna get. Yeah,
I wonder. I wasn't here at 6, so. Yeah. So here.
Not coming.
He's not coming? Oh, okay. He didn't want to sit by Joy. I understand.
If I would have been listening, I think I heard my name, it was probably an insult. There was-
You got that right.
I thought it was,
There's no love.
retro.
Oh, yeah, they're having a follow. Or is it the first one, or is it the first one? I'm sure it worked out just well.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay, 10 seconds.
Now,
God, give us grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace. May you guide us as we serve our community. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Sperling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheelan,
yes.
Whittick,
Here.
Beck,
Here.
Levens.
Previous minutes. Everyone had a chance to review their packet and go over the previous minutes.
One correction, it's on the judiciary committee minutes. I was at that meeting, I was not on the attendance list for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any problem? Repeat from this week.
I will correct that.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the March 10th, 2014 meeting.
Second. Any discussion, corrections, have you seen? Roll call, please.
Sperling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheelan,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Financial report.
I move we accept the financial report as presented as of 4/11/2014.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Roll call?
Fox,
Yes.
Wheelan,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Sperling.
Yes.
Communications.
I have one.
Okay.
I'd like to read. This is from the Ohio Municipal Clerks Association. Village of Stryker is the letter to me. Each year, the Ohio Municipal Clerks Association awards our prestigious Clerk of the Year award to one of our members nominated by their peers. Since its inception in the early 60s, the Ohio Municipal Clerks Association has grown from less than a dozen members to a membership of nearly 400. The criteria for selection of candidates include at least 5 years' experience, greater than average competence in the position, active in region, state, and national associations, demonstrates interest in improving professional and personal skills and the advancement of the profession, and contributes to the improvement of her community. The Clerk of the Year Award Committee is proud to announce that Beth Rediger, MMC, has been nominated for this award. From these nominations, 4 finalists will be selected. The membership will then elect the Clerk of the Year, and the recipient will be named at the OMCA Spring Conference Banquet, April 23rd at Embassy Suites, Dublin, Ohio. Whatever the outcome of the final vote, we're proud to make this announcement to you so that the appropriate recognition will be given to Beth Rediger for her dedicated years of service to the professionalism of the office she holds. Kathleen King, MMC Chair. Congratulations.
Thank you.
April
April
23rd is
23rd.
a Wednesday, coming up in just a little over a week.
And ironically, that's Administrative Professionals Day. I just know.
Good deal.
So you said you're not going to be able to go?
I unfortunately can't go to the training, and because that's the day my son is, we're scheduled to go to Ann Arbor, so.
Sure. I wish you the best.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Okay,
I got a couple of minutes.
all right.
Sanford's funeral, we went to Arlington. Turned out just absolutely beautiful. She had 25 of us were there from everywhere. Kind of surprised her. She didn't expect that many people to be there. She was obviously overwhelmed. And there was a video made of it. I haven't seen it yet. We'll be showing it at the Legion Post. So kind of looking forward to seeing that. It was really a touching moment to be there. And we actually ended up, there were 7 of us that went, and we actually ended up, there were 7 of us that were honorary pallbearers. So, and I went to the Bryan Times today with Lynn Thompson, and he did an interview with me, so there'll be an article about it in the paper. So, it's pretty neat. And Mother's Day, we had a Mother's Day dinner planned for the village or people, it doesn't have to be just Village of Stryker. On Mother's Day, 11 to 2, there's flyers, there's one on the door, different places in town. Pre-sale tickets only. So if you need a ticket, you want to do something special for mom and or yourselves, why, just for tickets. We went together with the Rotary and Legion went together and put on a nice big steak dinner put on by Betty Beck. Betty
What was
Beck,
the times again?
11 to 2.
$10 for that. Pretty cheap.
$6, $5 for children, 2 to 6. Yeah. And we're looking, so 300 tickets, hoping to sell all of them, obviously. So that'll be a good thing for the village. So that's all I have, sir. Good.
Anyone else? Right, oh, go ahead. No?
Just going back to what Rick said about Mike Sanford, has the village, and they, since his passing, done anything as far as offer a proclamation or maybe setting a day aside in his honor officially?
I don't think we have as of this point.
I just wonder
but-
maybe on Memorial Day, then maybe somebody could be said, or proclamation could be read in his honor at the Memorial Day services at the cemetery.
I think that's a great idea.
Anyone that knew Mike knew what impact he had on a lot of people's lives. Growing up, you know, he was always involved with scouts, and when I was in Boy Scouts, and he was quite a personality, along with his dad.
Yeah. Nice.
You want to do something during that ceremony?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Good idea.
We also found out Saturday at our breakfast, we're gonna do a memorial service for Fred Clare the same day, right after the service. The boy was in and asked if we'd do a service, and, well, you're all there,
Yeah.
might as well, so we'll do that after the service, so hopefully it's a pleasant
Wish we
day.
could do it on honor him. He's a good man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Is the Legion conducting that
yes, yes.
for the Memorial Day service? Will there be a parade and
Well, hope so. yes.
marching?
There's not a lot of us that can march that far, but
Right.
we try, yes. As far as I know, it's,
And do you have the information on that?
May 26th, the same formats we've always done here.
10 a.m.
Same format. We'll do the funeral service after that ceremony out there, and,
Leaving at 10 from the Legion?
10 o'clock, yeah, march down there. And we get there. Will you take care of this proclamation? Okay, and will you be presenting?
Probably.
Okay, if it doesn't look like it, let us know, and then we'll make sure somebody gets it done. I don't know what Dan, or Don always puts that program together, so, I'll make a big note about that,
And wonder where you put it.
yeah,
Yeah, if you're like me, Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah, we should.
You think of anything else you want, let me know,
Speaking of scouts, just out to Craig, and like I said, Mike was a big part of scouts, I'd say how long ago, but some time ago. When his dad Herb were Scoutmasters and got the troop revitalized, Troop 79 back in those days, and got a lot of boys involved, so they were quite the influence.
do you want to say something to Paula to have her there?
Yeah, yes.
We can work that out, as long as she doesn't have other plans.
It's kind of a spur when you started talking about Mike, you know, and just spur of the moment, just thought of that.
Yeah, she
It's
was,
a town that officially done anything in the past.
she was just overwhelmed with the people that showed up.
Any others? Okay, I received 3. Two of them really aren't for council action, but I did want to mention them just so they know I didn't forget about them. Terry Lance made contact with the village, reference information. She owns, and her husband own a vacant lot here in the village, and she wanted to know if there was anything special or any regulations. They're interested in selling their lot, and so she just wanted to make sure if there was anything they had to do before they put that out on the market. Sean Folk, another resident, just got that today, has requested a variance on parking, of which Administrator St. John and I discussed, and I will be getting back with him on our initial discussion, and then he's got some steps that he can take beyond that. And then, I don't have the, yes I do. Amy Olmsted made contact with me through an email didn't put a lot of information in the email, but apparently there was an incident up at the main intersection here, and she was wondering if there was any chance of putting in rumble strips. And I think we discussed that
Yeah, right.
way back when, and the state has to approve it, number one, and there were some reasons why they wouldn't do it, wasn't there?
Yes.
Do you recall what those were?
No, I just recall that that's what started, and that's why the light is off.
Right.
Mrs. Sandberg, Paula, called the state and said that, well, actually wrote a letter to the state and said that it's a bad corner, this was on this end, and requested rumble strips. So that's when he came out and said, no rumble strips, and that light's not, doesn't have a permit on it.
Do you remember why they disapproved the rumble strips?
I don't, I've never seen rumble strips that I can think of on a state highway. I'm sure they've got some, for the
I will
integrity
get-
of the pavement, if nothing else, you know, because you
Yeah.
groove into.
I will get back with her. I wanted to, first of all, acknowledge that she responded with an email, and then I wanted to, I didn't remember what the reasons was,
I can
but
pull correspondence with.
I do know that we addressed it before.
Yes.
Okay.
That was what, about 5 years ago? It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while back, Bob, you were on the council.
Yes, it was.
Do you recall why they didn't allow the rumble strips?
What I recall is we did not have permit for the four-way
Light.
blink light.
Right.
They would not give us a permit, so there is no point even attempting this.
Right.
Paraphrasing the words had to do with traffic counts and whatnot. And the rumble strips, I'm recalling something like Gary said about integrity of the pavement. For some reason, it's in the back of my mind that the proximity of the railroad track came into play somehow.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't
Could
remember.
be.
I don't recall how that would have tied in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can check back and request a reason why we can't.
I'm sure we've got it written down
And-
somewhere.
And if I look in my emails, I know I have all the correspondence.
Okay.
What took place, and maybe I can even just find it in
Well,
there.
I will get back with her, just so she knows that we did actually address it at one point, and we'll research that to give her a definite answer as to why, but I know the state said no.
Is that something, since it's been a while, can we ask the state to revisit that? See if there's a
We
possibility
can,
of some more
I mean,
things?
they have, and I have the book, it's this big, literally this big, and of all their standards that have to be followed on their state highway. Within their state right of way, that's kind of their
Right.
domain.
Yeah. They supersede us. So, okay, that's the ones that I have. Next, we have a young man that is a candidate for Eagle Scout, and he has developed a project that will be part of the Village of Stryker Knights Landing. And so I spoke with him last Monday and went over the project with him. I think it's a great idea and love to see it. So I will let him introduce himself and also introduce his project.
All right, well, I'm Terry Klingerman. I want to thank you for letting me present this to you. I have a lot of illustrations to go with this to help with the description and everything, but I guess I'll just kind of, you want to look through these and pass them around as I talk. My plan is to build a permanent concrete fire pit down at Knights Landing. It'll be, I have pictures on locations too to help you visualize it. But when we got this rain, the water came up a lot as expected. And as it was going down, we could actually see where the highest ground was. And I took some pictures of that. So, and that's where I'd ideally like to place it. The one problem is there's a group of trees that's growing, maybe right at the highest point. And in order to place it there, I'd have to get permission from the council also to remove that tree. But for the fire pit itself, it's going to be 5 feet by 5 feet by 5 feet, and it's going to be like an insert in the ground. And I plan on having it below the ground 4 feet and above the ground 1 foot, all the way around. The pit inside of the mold will be 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet with a building grate that will be 12 inches wide, and that will set actually below the actual top of the fire pit itself, so that if when used to, like, for cooking and stuff, you don't have to worry about the food rolling off into the grass or anything like that. Another feature we're going to put into the fire pit is we're going to have a drain system at the bottom of it, so that when it does flood or rain does get in the pit, it will naturally drain out. We consider putting a lid on it to help prevent that also, but with the inconveniences of it, we have decided not to do a lid and just put the drain system in. After we pour the fire pit, there's damaged ground to be expected, so we will also reseed, straw, water maintenance, the whole area until it starts growing again. And some of the expenses, there's really just a few main expenses that I'm going to have. That's going to be concrete, steel, and we're probably going to have to rent a post hole digger to help dig the fire pit itself out. Concrete, I figured 3.7 yards to pour it. So just to make sure we have enough, I will order 4 yards of concrete, which will run about $100 a piece with a delivery fee. Steel, I figured $500 in steel just to highball it, and that's, I'm figuring if there's no donations from like Ball Toss or anything like that, that's what we're going to go through. Because the steel will be used for a grate, the building grate, and then the inside of the fire pit will have a steel around it just to hopefully prevent if there's any cracking or anything in the concrete, we can prevent that so it lasts longer. Other than that, the post hole digger, like I said, we'll rent for about $100, we're figuring. And because we got a tractor and stuff, we can hook that to. We're just gonna put a bunch of holes, kind of break up the ground a little bit, and make it a little easier to dig it out. Though there's one other, I have a picture of it, one other thing we're gonna have that I'm including in my project is the past Eagle Scouts have done projects out there, and they have, my brother actually, he put up a kind of 2 memorial stones, and one has the names of Eagle Scout that have completed a project out there, and to finalize my project, I'd like to get my name engraved in that stone also. And I have talked to Homemeyer's, and that's going to run about $75 to get engraved. Also, if you, I think there's, 6 pictures on there. If you scroll to the left or right, I have a picture of that actual tree that in the location. It's closer to the road, and so it's not as close to the upper level, but I figured with the higher ground being there, and if you actually have a fire pit.
To the left, right
It'll be this one right here, the middle one.
there. Middle one.
Yep.
Can I see that part? I know everything else he's doing, I haven't seen it.
But I figured I can leave that middle part for like campers and other stuff, and set the tent up there, and then if they want to cook up on the upper level, they can cook up there, or if they want to cook and have fire down the lower level, they can do it there too.
It's the middle tree.
Middle
Did you say that what your total cost you think would be for the whole project?
The total cost, if I have to pay for everything in full, I figured $1,500. And that's, again, I wanted to highball it just so I didn't get a lower cost than, and then lowball it, but, I'm just gonna figure $1,500 as of now for the project.
And that's a high ball.
Yes.
Is that including taking the tree down too and like
Yes.
removing the stump?
Yep. Yep, all maintenance fees and everything.
That doesn't look like that big a tree.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's more of like a,
I wish it-
it's kind of, yeah, it's like a shrub. It's got a bunch of different,
It's a black hawthorn, isn't it, with big, long?
see, I couldn't go down there because of the flooding.
It is, in fact,
You'd like to see that gone?
well, we were gonna cut it.
Okay.
We were gonna cut all those hawthorns because Wes and I went in and we took pliers and we tried to strip them off. So, I mean, there's this long, I don't know if you ever saw a black hawthorn, but they're wicked. They call them devil's walking sticks, and I think they probably are. So, we would like to get rid of those.
All three of them, or just,
We'd like to get rid of all the hawthorns, and there's hawthorn in the end, and I'm pretty sure that middle one's a hawthorn, because I'm worried liability wise.
Yeah, do you think the other two
Not
out
on
there are the
tires,
same?
aren't they?
Well, they could be.
I think they looked very similar.
Oh, absolutely, it's great.
Is that something that the village can
Yeah,
coordinate with his
absolutely.
project? So
Yeah, if the council approves the project, we can definitely, we're gonna cut those trees anyways.
Because I can't imagine it would take that much to actually to pull that tree out. So to pull, if we had to pull 2 more out, I don't think it'd be a problem.
It's no big deal, I mean,
didn't
we
look
gotta,
at
we
me like
own
anything
back
was a
home.
tree.
You think a replacement too, Gary?
Well, I hadn't thought that much, as much as, I was worried about really kids, because I see a lot of kids running around,
Doesn't
and
look
like, boy,
like-
somebody throws them in there.
That
That's
photo
why we
doesn't
trimmed
look like
all
a
that crap up, but they keep growing sprouts, so, you know, it's gotta go.
What is your, is this gray concrete or steel?
Well, we just made that to display what the pit will actually look like, so you can see the inside. But all the inside will be aligned with steel.
Against concrete?
Yes, it'll be, like when we make our form, it'll be part of the form and then we'll concrete around it.
Okay. I can see you having a premature rusting problem in lead out when you put steel against concrete like that. You may want to rethink that, or you may just want to end up with a steel cap on it.
Okay.
And also, you said that's 4 feet deep,
The pit itself is 3 feet,
3 feet,
but
and a foot above.
yeah, the concrete, well, the whole concrete base, like all of it as one, will be 4 feet underneath.
Okay.
So that pit itself will go 2 feet underneath the ground,
Okay.
and then it'll come up to the very top.
What are you going to have on the top level?
As it, like the very top of the whole pit, that's gonna be all that's just gonna be concrete.
It doesn't have a grate for burning?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
That's
Yeah, that'll be the grate for cooking and stuff, and that's gonna be permanent so that you don't have to worry about sealing it yet, you can still feed the fire through the other side.
Okay, my thought was a child falling into that. Somebody falling into that, if that is removable, or somebody just takes it out, some kid falls into that, that's what I was thinking. You wanna make sure that that's fastened in some
Yeah.
manner.
Yeah, see, we considered doing that in stainless steel, but,
You better up your budget.
yeah, yeah, well, and also we can't weld stainless steel to regular steel, so we figured we'd just do all regular steel.
But security.
Yeah. that's
Yes,
what
yes, it will
It would be
be, it will be
secure.
welded in place.
Total openings like 36 square.
Yeah, 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 and all those dimensions on there are in inches.
So you roughly have a foot and a half maybe to feed the.
Yeah, you'll have 2 feet, and then the grade will be 1 foot of the total 3.
Yeah, I would definitely check with Jason, because I agree with Rick, as you probably know too, concrete and steel are very caustic together.
Okay,
You wanna think that through a bit, just ask Jason and he'll.
okay, okay. Will do.
Plus it might save you some money too.
Yeah, the only reason why we said steel is we didn't know if the fire inside would create cracking and stuff like that. But I know there are pits that are just concrete and they hold up well. And then I know steel ones obviously hold up well, but, so I will
You were
look
just
into
trying
it.
to make a mold, use that as
Yeah.
a nice mold.
Yeah,
I understand
You
that.
could also line it with fire brick if you wanted to.
yeah, we also, yeah, I took that in consideration too. But yeah, I'll talk, when I talk to Balchester, I'll definitely bring that up.
I think it sounds like a good continuation of what's been going on.
Yes.
out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Very good project.
Yeah, it's great that the scouts are doing this.
And there's been a donator that's been donating money for that project, and that's where we've been taking for all of these. I'm not sure what the standing is, but I'm pretty sure that same donator would continue. He wants to remain anonymous, but he's
Yeah.
put several $1,000s worth towards that, towards your guys' project, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Klingman?
If you get the okay to go ahead, what's your timetable as far as working on
I figure once all the the ground dries out and the weather permits, I plan on getting that done as soon as possible so that they can hopefully have the whole summer to use it and stuff like that. But if we get a good week or two, I definitely think we'd have it all done, grass reseeded and everything within a week or two if everything. If the weather's good. If the weather's good.
Good luck.
The way it's going.
You guys prefer to do all the work yourself?
A lot of it will be done between my dad and I, because he's gonna kind of be the project supervisor for me. He helped me plan a lot of it out, but I will have the troop involved and family members and whoever is that will volunteer to help.
So you would take volunteers if
Yes.
there's somebody out there that wants to help?
Yes. Yep.
I was thinking too, you know, I don't know if he would be willing, but I'd run, anytime I think concrete, I think of Randy Partee.
Okay.
He might be willing to help you.
Okay.
I don't know, no
All right.
promises, but that's his
Yeah,
business.
I'll look into that too.
It might be a good resource.
Anything to save some cost.
Yeah.
Might be able to get a job that's done and have some extra concrete left over.
And a lot less time,
Yeah.
Lot of expertise, you know.
and he may not, just so you know.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Doesn't hurt to
It
ask.
doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah,
It sounds like
Good
a great
project.
it's a great project.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing it.
All right.
Thank
Do you have any additional questions for us?
I don't.
And it sounds to me, from what I'm hearing anyhow, that we were going to get rid of those trees.
The hawthorns really is.
Do you want to do, I heard conflicts.
Yeah,
It sounded like we were going to, but you were going to.
Well, if we're down there and we can identify them, I mean, I don't think since we're already down there, it'll be a problem.
Do you want to just put a ribbon on the ones, or something like a ribbon? to-
yeah, I have ribbon, yeah, I can tag them.
Okay.
To tag them somehow, and then you can coordinate if it's more than what you wanted, we
If
were
it
going
looks
to
like it's
anyway.
running some problem, can't we just
Yeah, we have a backhoe.
get them?
Take the backhoe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just let us know.
Okay.
Sometimes you can push them over and get the stump to come up,
Right,
no bigger than them are with a backhoe.
okay, I
If it
guarantee
cuts
you,
them off, then you gotta dig them
right,
out.
I guarantee Wes knows how to
Yeah.
remove small
Okay,
trees.
because I also talked to somebody, they said, did you consider replanting them? But since you guys are getting rid of them, I'm not gonna worry about that.
I wouldn't at this point.
I know, but the backhoe farm would
Like the first fire
What's
went
that?
out
I wouldn't
there.
want
Yeah.
There you go.
First
I-
trees, cut it up,
I
got
wouldn't
it.
want
There
one
you
of
go.
those trees in my park.
Okay.
Also, from the flooding, we're gonna have to clear all that brush and stuff out down there. Where would you prefer that we put that? Anything that's kind of floated up and?
Oh, from the river you're talking?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, if you can get it drugged up to the driveway, we can take care of it.
okay, alright,
Problem.
sounds good. Alright.
And then the
Yeah,
next.
cut it and chop it. Firewood.
You could put it down there for firewood.
Okay.
Right next to your pet.
Yeah, yeah, come get your firewood.
Maybe the next Eagle Scout project will be doing some plantings of the trees and stuff like that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Tanner.
Good job.
Is there any type of motion or resolution, position?
I think a head bob's all we needed, wasn't it? Yeah.
Get her done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When it comes to the money, you'll need a motion.
All righty, that brings us to committee reports. I'm guessing as Records Commission Chair, I'll present the first one, or does the Secretary? All right, I'll read what the Secretary did. Reference Records Commission meeting minutes from 3/10/14. Our village solicitor, Mark Hagens, was present, myself, fiscal officer Rediger, our village administrator, Mr. St. John, council president, Mr. Whelan, and our citizen is Patsy Mueller. At that, village solicitor led discussion as to whether the village of Stryker had a records retention policy, because in our policy, we have reference to it, but we didn't have all the documentation in place that we needed. So due to that, we continued with our formation of our RC2. At the time of the meeting, we formally adopted the commission members, which were those that were mentioned earlier, and myself will serve as the chair, and Ms. Rediger will be our secretary. We discussed and reviewed all the various examples of the RC2 forms, and we felt that it was best to go with the records retention outline that Ohio already has in place, rather than reinventing the wheel. Patsy Mueller and Beth Rediger will work together on the village retention policy and present an RC2 to the commission to adopt at the next meeting, which was tonight. At tonight's meeting, we did review everything, the members discussed it, and we did adopt a retention policy to be submitted, an RC2 to be submitted to the commission. Still needs their approval, and it still needs their adoption, and if that occurs, then we will be good to go, and we will submit that at the next council meeting in May. That was respectfully submitted by Beth Rediger and signed off by everybody that was present tonight. Our judiciary, which is chaired by Mr. Blevins. He can't be here tonight, so I'll read that one as well. Present was myself, fiscal officer Beth Rediger, Councilman Rex Blevins, Robert Sperling, Joey Back, Terry Whelan, and Mike Fox. The committee discussed section 92501I of ordinance 2014-03, and the consensus is to change the section to non-payment or repair charge. Discussed if shut-off valves could be purchased by the village or kept on hand to encourage residents to install them. That was back and forth, and I believe we tabled that one. The committee also discussed snow removal on sidewalks. Wanted to know whose responsibility was. We went over the ordinance, section 52106, and that refers to ORC section 723011, and it is the resident's responsibility, and that was reviewed. The committee also noted that section 12101 of the Village of Stryker codified ordinance needs change to reflect the council meeting time changing to 7 p.m. And that is respectfully submitted by Rex Blevins, committee chair. And I suppose when I read the first one, I should have probably asked if there was any questions on that. So, yes, I'm on a roll, so I'll take questions on either one of them. Do we have any? Yes, sir.
The sidewalks.
Yep.
You said residents' responsibility.
Or property owner.
Thank you, you didn't say that.
Can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Let me in here.
Is it better now or better when we go over the ordinance?
Well, this is over, before you do anything with the ordinance.
Okay.
Just an input here. First of all, still like the way you guys are getting together, that's awesome. I had a question on the non-payment or repair charge. And all of this I did run by Mr. Hagan's, our solicitor, to make sure that what you folks have in place is, in fact, has the correct verbiage. He doesn't like a lot of verbiage. As most of you know, the village, and still it's ongoing. In fact, there's actually a date set in July. But for one word in an ordinance, they get sued for $500,000. So he doesn't like verbiage at all, really. But the repair charge here, when I recalled the council again, it's for making repairs and stuff, we talked about that. I'll just fast forward. Hagan's and I both think that the repair charge should be taken out, and then it's fine. Basically what you read in 31014. But where it says temporary disconnection, where you have, and you were trying to get, I think the purpose of the committee was to make sure that our snowbirds, if you will, or extended shut-offs were not being charged. Again, I checked with Peggy, and there is no people that are leaving, that we're aware of that are leaving, that we do that. Anyways, they all have shut-off valves. That being said, we knew we couldn't demand that people put anything into their property, shut-off valves included or anything, but we do require that they pay for a curb spot. So when we talked to the village, what I put in, here, let me put this down here. This, so you guys can read. This takes out, as it reads now, would be $50 repair charge, and it's the same charge as the others. This would be, did I do you right? You got this here, Jay? And then anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be under the temporary disconnection. The number one is exactly the same as you had it, but number two, it's going to say whenever a consumer requires the village to have his or her service temporarily disconnected, i.e. to make home repairs, etc., there shall be a $25 turn-on fee only. That takes it away from the $50. And besides the repair charge, almost looks like the village's repair, and we didn't repair my thing, that verbiage is a little confusing. Mark says this looks good to him, he blesses this if the council and the committee think so. He personally likes this, and I know, Joe, you said that the purpose of this is to keep it as cheap as we can, but that way, this, and I checked with the guys again. I know that we've talked about it and that we thought that maybe this disconnection fee to make repairs is a common thing. There was 5 this month for water leak. And in the wintertime it was really bad. We only had 4 shut-offs of not payment. And if they so elect to use the village curb stop as a shut-off, that's fine. But that's the real problem, is because they're on a project or what, they have to stop whatever they're doing immediately and run down and shut this one off for damage purposes. So what we would say is, and we have, well, we encourage you to put a shut-off valve in your house, because then, you can get to it quicker and all that. If they want to do that, it's not a problem. We come back out, we do the turn-on fee as you had mentioned, Bob, originally. But to give you an example of what Archibald does, they have a chart. He likes just a chart personally, but he says the council will have to, and the judicial, because of the nature of the ORC with water bills and sewer bills, that they have to be reviewed. I think it's every 3 years. Is that right, Beth? Do you know? I believe that's the time. Don't quote me on that, but pretty sure. But anyway, he likes this. Now, we have a security deposit for just renters. If you're an owner, there's no security because we can charge back. But we have it for $100, Archibald is $200. Then they have an automatic turn-on fee and a turn-off fee of $20 each. And if you have to go out and read the reading for any reason, the special read, they charge $10 for that, we don't charge anything. If it's a delinquent account, they charge $50 to turn it on, so it's a $70 up each time on delinquent. Meter damage, we charge $20, they charge $50. An unauthorized turn-on, like what we had several times, huh, Steve, that we talked about, and where they cut our deal, and it's not worth, they've got a $200 automatic fee goes right on their water bill if they tamper with the water. We don't have any of that stuff, so, you know, that's just, that was his recommendation. Sometimes he likes this because there's no verbiage. Yeah, it's defensible. But he said this works good, not a problem. If that's even still your intent, was to charge less than the delinquent people.
The thing on that, we got rid of number 2 out of there as a committee because whenever a consumer requires the village to have his or her service temporarily disconnected to make home repairs, there shall be $25 turn-on fee. We were getting rid of that altogether. We didn't want to charge anything for that. And that's what we come to a consensus on, and that's why it's not included on the 2014 TAC 2. That was one of the things that we looked at.
Okay.
So we did not want that, so that's added verbiage that he's saying is okay, well, we don't want.
Okay, well, my understanding was, in the initial meeting and in the second one, was that's what you did want. That you didn't want to charge, but there needed to be something, am I right, Terry?
Well, and that's why we changed the 92501I,
To, or repair charge.
yeah,
Right, that's
Was-
fine. I don't have a problem with it, but.
to have it inclusive so that if it needed to be done, it could be.
Well, okay,
That may not be the best verbiage for it, but that's what the intent
Yeah,
was.
that was the way we thought that was gonna cover it.
Yeah.
And that one.
okay, but it'd be $25 then, because when you shell, that's what you do. See, as an administrator, or even as a fiscal officer, Beth can't decide if it's chargeable or not, only what the ordinance says. And and it can be preceded, I'm sure you're not gonna go have a 2-year lawsuit like we're still in over a word, verbiage change in something like this, because it's $50. And, you know, keep it exactly like that. I will live with it, no problem, and Beth will enforce it if it
See,
comes to us.
when we looked at the non-payment or repair charge, that was one of those where under temporary disconnect, you know, you can go through and temporarily disconnect it. And that was intended for the ones that do the traveling and are gone,
Right.
which is great that they're doing that shut off. So it's one of those where we looked at it, where, no, if you wanna go through and upgrade your service, if you're going to go through and fix your home up, we're not gonna charge you extra for it. Yes, we know it's a little bit of an inconvenience at times, but
It's the number one reason why we get pulled off. I'll give you an example. We had snow now. My road neighbor went to the ball game, and an owner had a water leak. All that we had was a shut off, the curb stop. He shoveled, took the backhoe and hand shoveled the entire game to get that water, to get it shut off. And we've been very simple. That should be a $25 charge, because we paid that man 2 hours of overtime to come in and all of that. Those are the, you know, I came from Red Lobster and driven down and shut off curb stops. You know, it's it can happen anytime, and it happens a lot. I can't tell you how many times Terry Willis calls us, hey, guys, shut up. In my administrator's report, I'm reporting that this resident had a leak, and we had to go out and shut him off, and I helped too. I swept that whole thing, we could not find a shut off. You know what? He didn't have one. It was a live tape, I've never seen it, but you didn't have it when we put it in, you know, no problem. But that is the biggest expense. I checked with Peggy and everything else, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm with you if you wanna upgrade, if you wanna encourage that, but I think you also need to encourage that people help themselves and don't use the village curb stop as their shut-off. There has to be some kind of because it happens all the time. I've shut off, if I shut off one, I've shut off 100 for water. It's not, you would think it would be a rare occasion, but it's really we shut off more people than we shut off for delinquent charges. And again, if you don't want to encourage that, that's fine. Like I say, the meeting that I went to, that was the consensus, right?
The first one, we were looking at that.
Yeah. So,
Since most of us are here, and I did look at this at home after we had our meeting, because we had kicked it around a lot as to what would be best. I'm wondering, and you can totally nix this if you think I'm way off base here, but instead of repair, if we went non-payment or disconnect charge, and then left I with that change, as well as, this is where I don't know legally if it's right or wrong, or whose service has been disconnected may be subject to the following charges. And then after the 25, at the discretion of the water superintendent.
well, we're on to 7. It's gotta be, to me anyways, how can Alan determine who gets charged?
Well, if
One
it's,
person, the other one
well,
does,
in
you
that
know.
case, if it's a Mother Nature due to the temperatures or whatever, you know, we can waive that if we feel that it's a, and if we were going back 5 or 6 or 10 times, you know, maybe that's the time when we implement those charges.
But I would hate to put that on an employee.
Well, if we put
To make
shall,
that- If we put
then
may.
we have to
subject.
charge everybody. We
No,
can't,
I'm saying put may be subject, but leave off at the discretion.
Oh, man, who would you wanna put that, give that to Betsy, because that's the
I would hate
Or
to
lower
tack that on
revenue.
the employee.
She went through a new chart.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
well, as we have it now, it's an automatic $50 charge
Correct.
if, if the water's turned off for any reason. Because you, 25 are turning it off.
And I have no
25%
skin in the
back
game,
on.
I'm just doing this because I'm trying to, number one, protect the village,
Right,
and
no,
and to try to help in any way and facilitate what the council's wishes are. That's why I put all this time into it. Hey, I've never had a delinquent charge, I've never been, and I'm one of the seasonal people that have my water shut off, and it's for free. I don't have a problem paying $50 for it, but I think that the intent was, for these seasonals, it's not even a problem, because if they were to be shut off, which they don't, none of them, 0. There's 5 of them that are leaking, and none of them have a curb stop, or they have their own shut off.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I have my service shut off that goes out to my pool, because I don't want it on in the wintertime for obvious reasons, and I don't know how deep it is. And they just come up and they shut it off and they turn it on, no fee. I'm more than happy to pay the fee, but the point is, not being a delinquent, $50, and then someone that's using a curb stop as a shut off, there's some incentive to, maybe you'd get that, you know, and say, you know what, it'd be cheaper for me. Why they got it shut off? One time would pay for the shut off. And it just makes good sense, but again, we can't force them if they wanna use the stuff.
Right.
And that's where it comes under the 2402 or 2014-02, letter B in the temporary disconnect. There's a fee, as stated in the 03, unless it's done in writing.
That's the old one.
Mhm.
See, and that's where,
And I think they were trying to do what you guys are trying to do now, and say, hey, if it's an emergency thing and you're making us come out here, then if you didn't know ahead of time, then it's an emergency. would
now
be my
this,
guess.
this one's actually the new one to be replaced of the other one. This one is saying that all you have to do for a temporary disconnect is request it in writing.
The new one? No. No. That's what you're trying to repeal.
Do I got my papers messed up?
Yep.
Possibly. I think the original one referenced
Yes.
in writing. There's nothing we can do by
The
ordinance.
back page
to help somebody upgrade or require.
The front page is the only
Not
one you're
every day has
replacing.
something so dangerous, you know. Yeah, it's,
Not that Archibald doesn't even
That's
have
what
anything similar to that.
Data is following.
So they just need to request
no,
it.
they just charge them every time they.
Well, and that's an incentive, or disincentive.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're gonna be seasonal, yes, they can just
They
request.
just need to request it.
It doesn't have to be in writing, we took that out, okay.
You did,
And
we
we had
had kind of kicked around the idea about an incentive plan that was mentioned about if it is shut off or repair work, strongly encourage them to maybe get the shut off in the home at that time.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I don't care if you're doing brush, if you're on the mowers, it's, somebody's gotta get out there and do that. They have meter testing in for this other entity. You know, we test the meters for free. We go out and read, make sure it's not, you know, reading too high or whatever, special reads, we don't do any of that, but that's more of on your schedule. But when you've got, I don't care if you're hauling brush or getting stone or whatever, you gotta stop, turn around, and head in and get this shut off, that's fine. We'll shut it off like, I think you had mentioned, Bob, the gas people shut off for free and then have a turn on fee to reinstate the service. That's where you were at on the first meeting.
We had discussed a variety of possible methods of having valves available. We didn't necessarily want to get into the valve installation business, then we decided there's just too many different possible water connections
Well,
inside
yeah,
of
and
the
it's
property to try to
what
stop.
you want. For us, that's like telling the people that they got, you know, you're gonna charge $25 if your bathroom isn't blue or something. I mean, you know, it's, I have numerous shops, as Mayor Hughes does, and we spoke of it. I have ball valves, I have the turn-in valves, you know, I've got various, like, but, and if I get a water leak between, I've got 600 feet of water from my right away to the house is 600 feet, and I had a leak there, it's my responsibility to fix all that too.
Yeah,
You know.
you'd still need the curb stop. shut
Does
down.
92501 cover it? Because we're repair charging them $50.
Right, but we're not repairing it, is what I'm saying. But if you wanna put it in there, keep it that way, we'll interpret it that way, I don't think anybody will kill it, okay? I really don't, I'm just
asking.
Yeah. telling you what the
Right.
solicitor said, and, you know, as far as,
If this is so confusing and you guys have been working on it for so long and we're having trouble quite understanding it, wouldn't it be better just to have that chart in black and white and nobody's gonna get in trouble? I mean, it's all spelled out.
That's
Beth doesn't have to make a guess, the employees don't have to make guesses.
quite,
What I was gonna add, when we finished up, was that.
None of us have
the
seen that chart.
information, making the chart, take the information off the ordinance and then.
No, I'm
create a
saying
chart
that.
based on that.
We haven't seen it.
Interesting, you have multiple copies.
no, he just gave it to me, but I can make you just see what it looks like. They've got, some serious charges on some of them.
Which is what we were trying to avoid.
Right, yeah, no, we don't have any of that stuff, but that,
But nonetheless, there's nothing wrong maybe with having a chart. and
But,
having a-
yeah, you can
No,
put
we
it,
could do that, but I think.
you're on a
No,
second
we-
read to try to get this
Still
done.
gonna say this,
Yeah.
you know.
But it's just all spelled out,
Right.
no verbiage or can't be just misunderstood.
And I agree with, actually both of you on this one, where the verbiage, I think we're okay with the verbiage, this might be the cheat sheet.
Right,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
basically-
saying, yeah.
That was just the easy way
I
to
still
come down.
like the way that we come up with this, the judiciary. Thank you.
Yeah, cheat sheet never hurts. We shouldn't have that, but I think we're saying, this is fine. I mean, this is saying they're gonna be charged. That's the way I see
Can't
it.
be transferred onto this. I think they're all, everything's good to go.
With an ordinance on here.
Yes.
Actually, the
Oh.
ordinance is.
I'll ask them all.
That's Beth, right? Can you do that, Beth?
Hmm?
Can you transfer that onto something like that?
A chart for yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But
I
are
guess-
you
But you-
looking
I
at,
think
are
you
you
would wanna
looking at like
adopt it.
passing it like an in your kind of by ordinance book? Like adding
I
it
would
to an
just say make
ordinance?
it as a cheat sheet.
This is
I
a
would-
Oh.
cheat sheet.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I
Pass it as an.
In-
Somebody asked a question.
And
Next
this
day.
would be in
You
reference
pass the
to,
This
ordinance,
is apparently in the ordinance.
that's already,
Got the
Yeah.
it's fine.
Right.
history.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of charges involved right now, it's
No.
25 and
I don't
25.
think it's gonna matter.
There's not a lot to put on the chart.
yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating any charges or anything, I'm just, like I say, I'm trying, as it read there, I didn't want to see the person that had a water leak that chose not to put a valve in to pay the same as a delinquent person, and I think that was the general consensus of the group. And at that particular way, that's what it does, and if you're fine with that though, and I don't by any means want to discourage any council person of having input in that group, but that's just, I guess throughout all of my years, I'm always looking for what's the worst case scenario, because I've seen it at various times.
so you're saying that there's no employee discretion available?
No, not for charges. See, there's like officer's discretion for giving tickets and stuff like you would have, Dan, you know, whether it's a warning or whatever. But this is, these are the charges, and only the council can make the charges. It says so in the Ohio Revised Code. They set the water rates, they set the fees, they are it, period. And once that's in ordinance, I can't change it, Beth can't change it, or anything, correct, Beth?
Well, we were thinking, when we were discussing,
There's
there
even
was
a
some
shall
discretion.
be, But shall is kind of, yeah, it's there.
Right.
I mean,
You shall do this, you shall
Shall is shall.
drive 25 mile an hour.
I think the
Which
thought
you
was
may
because
drive
of
25 mile an hour,
how we
it doesn't,
placed the
you know,
comma or
it just-
whatever, we were thinking,
Right.
we redid that
I don't do either, so.
section.
We know that you.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just thought I'd clarify. Shall and may.
But you have the ordinance as you suggested it to pass. You also have the option of passing change the repair and put it over there at half price.
Okay.
You see, this one, well, I'll get you in a second.
We've been putting in the newspaper, or not in the newspaper, but you've seen it all over town, I'm sure, and stuff. Peggy's had it on the water bill that these changes, if you need to see them or anything, especially on the notices, on the first one, is the one that no one has ever had an issue with, council or anyone. And you can change all the way to the third reading. I always like to see the council amend on their second reading. That way, if the newspapers report on it, or if they do want to see it, and they have an issue with it, you know, you still have a chance to hear them for the third time.
I think.
I'll look into it in a second, when we get to the ordinance. During discussion, we can, that's what we're up to, yeah. Okay. Legislation, second reading of ordinance 2014-02, an ordinance to repeal and replace section 925.02 and subsection B1 of ordinance 1997-11. We can put that motion in place and then we can discuss.
I move we, 92502, second reading.
I missed the second on that.
Did we get a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to squeak it out there.
now we can discuss that. Anyone that wants to chime in, more than welcome. I'm looking at the two copies of what we're talking about.
I actually like it without the number 2, the way we had it. I think we can address it with the other one a little bit. Over the administrator's concerns, I think we can address that with the 2014-03. So I like it without that number 2 that was presented.
I appreciate Gary bringing it up, and I can see it either way. I don't think we have a problem if we do it.
So we're looking at exactly as presented by the fiscal officer with just B1 and not a B2, correct?
That's the one I made a motion.
Just so everybody understands, yeah, exactly where we're at.
That's what I made the motion.
Okay. Any additional questions or concerns on that? And it can always be amended on the final reading if necessary.
So you're doing away with number 2, is that what you're saying?
It's being presented exactly as you've got
Got
in
it.
your
Yeah.
hands.
Where you communicated us this. Yeah.
There's for here.
Yeah. As that.
Oh, I see. You don't think you need that other fee, is that?
I think we can cover it under this fee.
How would you propose 2002? Actually, 5:01 to address.
Cover it by how number.
So we can take away, base it up and not compare. Make it go.
Yeah, my issue with Gary brought up was only because you talk about verbiage and, wording, throwing a whole different spin to things. When we talk about your examples, we put an et cetera in there. So that's open for interpretation too. So I agree with Mr. Beck about keeping back the original as read.
Okay.
So are we asking the employees to go and do this?
No,
for
no,
them?
no.
Okay. It is covered, there is a fee, anytime they have to do something?
Yes.
That's the way.
Any additional? Roll call, please.
Wheeling,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Sperling,
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Okay,
That's the second reading.
correct. Doesn't mean you can't come back and amend it. Correct. Okay, second reading, ordinance number 2014-03, an ordinance to repeal and replace section 925.01I of ordinance 1997-11. That's the single page that you have.
Too many single pages.
So we need a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass the second reading of ordinance 2014-03.
That's all right.
I need to. How about here?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion on the table, we have a second. Do we want to discuss this one to make any changes at all the way we have it presented now?
Perhaps.
Perhaps,
I'd be
okay.
happy to see
Well, that's one of those where we were looking at the non-payment,
Yeah.
where you were going to get that 25 and 25 because we weren't wanting that 20, 40, 60
Correct.
increment.
And that's got
Right.
25, 25, and the word shall though kind of implies that
Yeah.
even for a repair charge, they're gonna pay 50 rather than the 25.
And that was on our last judiciary, we added that repair
Yes.
because it was to cover some
We
of the
thought.
concerns that we thought you had with that.
Right.
But
Yeah,
we
no, I'm
go,
fine with it.
we can go back and we can revisit that again, I think,
But I think-
prior to that.
The way it reads, I would have to charge $50.
Yeah, because
Yes.
what we had thought was we could see some discretion, the word shall, Gary's
Yeah,
absolutely correct, that's
there's
got
no
some.
You don't, and you can't say may, because that you know,
Yeah.
that doesn't,
Mhm.
that's a
That's a-
suggestion that you pay your bill. You
Well,
know?
And I think that's where we can come through and tweak that just a little bit.
But if you take
If
out
we
repair
have it
charge,
discretionary, it becomes discretionary, then the burden of, it becomes possibly
yeah, it
discriminatory.
can't be,
Could be other avenues open up.
but if you take out the or repair charge, then Rick, your question is that no, there isn't a fee being charged.
So it would have to have it be non-payment or
And it,
disconnect.
and it reads fine because it says, or whose services has been disconnected shall be subject to the following charges. $25, $25. It's, you know, that's solid. It's just, I thought you wanted it only 25. And if that's not the case,
For the
then,
repair type of thing.
Well,
Right.
and I think that one of our main concerns during our discussion was, you know, if Mother Nature breaks our pipes, now we're getting charged $50 because it wasn't
We
ours.
lost.
well, it's their responsibility to ensure that the pipes don't freeze and no meters.
We understand that, but still,
Right. And there is a,
Stryker, Ohio, and we didn't want to overtax them, and it was, I think it was our thought process that we're rubbing salt into the wound by
right, so,
adding that.
right, that's why I thought you wanted to cut that in half.
Yeah,
But the way it reads, it's not.
I understand.
Yeah.
So
It's the
I
same
think
as
we
the
do
non-payment.
have
You
some,
may have to fall back on that.
yeah, we have some tweaking, as you
I
said.
understand what you're saying.
How are you suggesting we tweak it?
Um,
You basically, what I'm
Can we
seeing.
tweak it now? Is that legal? Okay. Can we just put an and/or in there?
Well, we can't make anything discretionary.
No, by an and/or,
What we're looking at is almost having to call out the home repair as being the separate $25 fee, which is very similar to exactly what Gary and Mr. Hagan had put
In the other one.
in the other one.
That's why I
So
thought
we
we could address it here.
relocated into this
Mhm.
But
ordinance.
this is under non-payment.
right. That's why I'm wondering, could we do, and here again, I could be way off here. Subject to the following charges, $25 shut-off fee and/or a $25 turn-on fee, to where now you're saying one or the other, whichever is pertinent.
Could that be done in a non-discretionary manner?
Well, no, I mean, you're not just, it's not discretionary at that point. Now you're saying
Could be one
whichever
charge.
one
One fee.
is applicable.
That's what item
Applicable.
2 said under disconnection in the ordinance, where it said for this temporary disconnection, there's no charge for extended time, but there is a $25 charge for a short time, like doing repairs, i.e., et cetera. Whatever that may be, it doesn't matter, it's a temporary, because otherwise, how long is temporary? Or how long is extended? You know, another verbiage, but there's a delineation between, if you let them know you're gonna be gone for an extended period of time, or just not using the house or whatever, you can have your water shut off and there's no charge, and they just turn it back on whenever you say so. This person that needs you Johnny on it, so to speak, you know, then there's where that charge comes in. And that's where Mr. Higgins thought it should go under the temporary disconnection, because it is a temporary. But to delineate it that, hey, if you're doing stuff like that, or if you got a water leak, you need to repair it or something, be it known there's a $25 reinstatement fee for that only. And it takes it out of your non-payment for delinquent charges that you tried to change from your 20, 40, 60, and $60 ever more section, and that's where, truthfully, it really needs to be. If that makes sense.
Why can't we just put under I, non-payment, any customer who for reason of non-payment of monthly charges shall be subject to the following charges? It doesn't lay it out any simpler.
That's true. We just do a complete separation of our intents, get the repairs out of there.
Do what then, Joey? Just say,
Just eliminate the repair charge verbiage.
From the word or in the line there, all the way down to disconnected, get rid of everything there. So it would say non-payment, non-payment, any customer who for reason of non-payment of monthly charges shall be subject to the following charges.
Just eliminate the comma and everything up to shall.
eliminate comma and or
whose service been
I
disconnected.
think you guys
Wasn't that
really
a referral?
hashed that was a I
I'm
don't.
thinking that was one that you talked about.
Yeah, we did.
We beat it to death.
Yeah, I know,
For hours.
But it was, and I think that's
Days.
appropriate to have in there because you made it inclusive of any reason. And if you eliminate that, now we're only talking non-payment fee.
Well, we have
Is that-
also made everything inclusively subject to a $50 fee.
That's true too.
Yeah.
That was my point.
That, well, see, and we put that whose service has been disconnected, that was to protect this.
Yes, that's separated into two specific
Right.
functions.
Yeah.
The comma and or whose service.
Question.
Gave us two different scenarios, but the fee component is the same.
The fee is
Mhm.
50 bucks.
Yeah.
It's
Regardless of
$50
the
regardless if
Fee's
it's a
$50
repair or
no
if
matter
it's a
what.
non-payment.
So if we need a secondary fee structure, we're starting to kind of tip back toward what Gary and
Disconnection.
Right.
But if you put an or in there, then it's whichever you just had. Did you have it turned off? Okay, there's a $25. Or did you just need it, I mean,
Right, Dan, but you're still charging them $50.
Whether
Not
it's,
necessarily.
whether it's just
It could be.
non-repair or whether it's a repair.
but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Like for our person that goes away, they would only be looking at a $25, never mind. That thought's not a well thought out thought.
Okay.
I think we knew what our intent was. We thought we'd craft
Covered
some
it.
Yeah, we
good
thought we
language,
did.
But then after we ran around the bush 10 times and a fresh set of eyes looked at it, maybe we had some shortcomings in what we tried to do.
Have more people.
Still, it makes both things $50, the way it reads.
So why don't we just put it non-payment, any customer who for a reason of non-payment of monthly charges shall be subject to the non-payment.
And then that makes this strictly
Non-payment.
the charges for those who
Non-payment.
are in arrears and have not paid.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then we have to address separately those who have temporarily been disconnected for going to Florida or for making repairs, which was over in this.
Which was over in this one.
Yeah. Which said exactly that.
Yeah.
And for temporary, or for ones that were going to be gone for a while, or extended periods, it was
Free.
free. Absolutely, we just wipe it out and,
Yeah.
we want you to come back.
Yeah, so we made them free, we're 25 for the unfortunate person who has a leakage. I really wish there was some way we could compel them to, was an internal value.
Well, it's one of those, it's very similar. If he's sitting at Red Lobster and has to come to my house because of a water leak, by the time you get to my house,
I'm flooded.
the cost of a valve is nothing.
Right, and it's just an encouragement. We talk about how can the council enact legislation that would encourage, that's not gonna recoup costs, but Terry, you asked the question, or made the comment, something that when the guys are working, whatever they're doing, when they're being pulled away, we gotta try to encourage something to prevent that so that they can continue and have continuity. It's like an emergency day, you know? There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
But this thing is, there is something you can do about it. You can have a shut-off valve in your house,
Correct.
you know.
But again, like, you just said, encourage it is all we do.
Right.
We can't force
And
it.
a $25 fee, like here as an example, in Mott's Trailer Park, he has a single meter. And he has all these other meters throughout that you purchase and they're his and shut-offs. Our guys crawl into the trailer and shut them off all the time because they've got a water leak somewhere.
After
Um,
hour turnouts, only any
It's,
emergency.
it's in private property, it's not often, it isn't even, you know, but if there was a $25 fee, maybe those, you know, Kurt would go, hey, you know what, I need
Then
to
I've got water blowing out.
take care of this.
Right.
Ever been like a big push, you know, as far as informational push to?
Well, yeah, we've got,
Just address it again.
we've tried to encourage them to come in and read the ordinance, but I guarantee, I would think, and some people won't, you know, they say, hey, that's good enough, that's my shut off. I'll just wait, and I'll take the chance of having damages and all of this, because there are so many that do not have shut offs, it's unbelievable.
Just make that one.
Little figure on who doesn't, or does not have a home shut off versus.
Well, I can tell you 5 this month that didn't.
Some down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep it running. Well,
You guys in the back.
So is the consensus to remove the word repair from, to go back and remove the word repair from 03?
Or repair charge. It would read this way. Non-payment, any customer who for reason of non-payment of monthly charges shall be subject, and then continue on from
I still think yours, whose service has been disconnected for whatever reason, I think is still good, but
Well, I see it, I like the verbiage, but I see it as being directly connected to that $50 fee. And I don't think that simply the addition of or would allow us to skirt that. Would we be taken to task for it? I don't know, but I don't know if we'd be in a defendable position.
Would you be charging $50?
here. Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter
charge
what.
$50.
Yeah. and
Either
no matter
way,
what
I'm
fine.
charging.
Yep.
And that's not our intent, is,
Right, that's,
no.
that's
Complete
temporary
opposite of mine.
disconnection,
So
number 2.
I'm removing repair and I'm removing or whose service has been disconnected.
That is mine.
At this point in
Intention.
time, that's the direction we're moving.
Okay,
Our intents are pure, we're just working on
That's
the
all right.
kinks.
Okay.
And then we'll go.
So, you had a motion.
yep, we have a motion on the table, we have a second, we discussed it, time for roll call.
We have to take another reading on this.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
would it?
No.
Beck,
Yes.
Spurling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeling?
Yes. Next month, you'll give us this with, is what you're saying.
Yes.
We'll go through and we'll set up another judiciary and discuss
Yes.
a little bit more freedom.
All right. Administrators report.
We had to repair a couple different water main metal boxes. One, I think, something hit at the school in the grass there and busted it. We were able to take care of that, and then we broke one ourselves, just pavement rising and box up on our plow, whacked it, so we got that up. We actually had to install a shut-off, a curb box, and valve on the right-of-way, because the owner had a leak and he never had one. So we literally went out there and made a live tap, if you will, put it in there. Alan actually made the tap, and he was just soaked head to toe with water, but we didn't want to shut everybody down and have a boil alert and all of that.
Is this new construction or old construction?
No, this is right on Main Street, one of the older houses.
This
Never had a,
Terrible stuff.
yeah,
So did we charge the village $50 for the on-call?
Got Alan's new.
Yeah, hey, that was before my time. Sure of that. We did have to shut off another part, so, again, I won't go through all the leaks. I contracted, with, First Energy Solutions. They had you can get a 12% savings on our streetlights and outside pumps, so Beth went through our bills and we got together and we verified what we had, and so that will be a savings for us, because those are sizable
Streetlights and what?
pumps, outside pumps.
Is that the lift stations, lagoons, and the water?
Yeah,
lines?
those types of, so that's fairly sizable. Then Toledo Edison called, and they're offering energy kit programs. I think, she didn't say, but I'm guessing that that's one of the mandates for the green that they go with. And we could receive, any municipality can receive up to 250 T8 energy efficient bulbs and up to 5 power strips if they truly are using them. And so I asked for 50, because we can replace 50, and not 250. And I asked for the 5 power strips, then we can use that just as the Bureau's office is here. So, and then I found out through Beth, actually, we've been having trouble with those pumps. We've got a couple of mortars, but excuse me, with all the rain and stuff, we need to have those pumps up and running. And so we need to get one rebuilt. This is still 5 weeks out. I called the company and I said, where are these things? And they left from Switzerland, they're on a boat, and that's just what it is. But Beth was telling me that there was a company in Bryan, Kuntz and Wagner. So I checked, I Googled it, and I found them. I actually got a hold of Kim, the administrator at West Unity is gone, but Kim looked it up and gave me an address that it was in Indiana. So from there, long story short, we did find the company. There's a local service company that does that. In fact, it's right off Union Street where they got the big pump out there.
Yeah.
Those guys actually can build flight pumps. And I would say probably less than half the price. So that was a good find. So he's got our pump tore apart. In fact, he called me Saturday, I think it was. I won't say for sure, but just to tell us where we're at with it. It is tore apart and waiting on seals and stuff. Had a lot of drainage questions here recently with all the rain and stuff we've had. Did a lot of repairs. Wes and I don't know if any of you noticed, but there appeared to be water up by Road Street and Main Street. It was just like a slow seeper. And in fact, the guys called me when I was in Florida, and just curious what I thought. They tested with DPD packets, reagents. It's a chemical that we can put on the water and it turns red. And all the water leaks are suspected water leaks. We always take a little sample or a little jar, tap it in there, or we'll just drain. And even if it's just a small seeper, you'll see a red trail, and then we know, hey, this is city water. It's not storm. And it was just kind of bubbling up. And I went out to a call whenever we had that last rain last week, out to Mops Trailer Park. They thought they had a water leak, and it was bubbling out and gushing. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think it's storm, because that's what will happen. But typically, and you'll see it, and I'm sure all of you have seen storm drains bubble out. They look like a fountain almost. So with no red, I told them just sit tight and see what we got. So I went down and looked at the storms, and they were literally plugged. And I walked down into that riprap and dug just 3/4 full of mud and stuff and grass clippings, old grass clippings that people blow out into the streets and got plugged in there. And as far as I could get, it was still plugged. So Wes took a big rod and we rammed it. And long story short, we had all kinds of ways of problem solved, but it still kept leaking. And so long story short, it was a water leak. The frost had evidently bent the pipe and bent the bolts. So we didn't have to shut anybody off. And all that had to be changed was a couple of stainless steel bolts and tightened it back in, so. It was just so fine, and the spray was, I mean, smaller than the dot of a pencil, you know, and it just barely sprinkled, so I think it just got ate up. So that's what that was, if anybody was curious. Archibald came in and pulled a bunch of root balls out and some drains that came in, and we're still working on, with a couple of residents on some water issues, and trying to help them out, and give them some suggestions what they might do to keep water out of their basement. And I did take a walkthrough with a company for compliance purposes, I think I mentioned last meeting. And I'm trying to, actually I am assisting them with a purchase they need to make. And hopefully good things will come from their due diligence. I asked the plant manager, and she said, yeah, but you know, you never know. But, and that's all I have. Questions?
I got one, Gary.
Yeah.
Has there been an ordinance put in place for the lowering of the grass clippings in the streets?
You know there isn't?
There is not. How can we address that?
I've agreed with that theory for 17 years, yeah. I agree.
It ends up costing us a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it plugs the drains and stuff, everybody thinks that's kind of like the gutter. You get it out into the
Yeah.
street, it's good to go. But yeah, it plugs a lot of drains. In fact, the mayor's called me out on one several rains ago now, and just went out and pulled all the grass out of it, and
Just grass, or we're doing leaves also?
well, debris. We sweep, and of course, we suck up the leaves and everything. It's mostly the grass, and we'll go down and sweep, no joke. Look beautiful, and 10 minutes later, the mowers are running, and that's where they push it, you know, and Wes created these little drains that we put in, to try to catch the grass clippings, so we dump them all the time, but in the wintertime, we don't. Of course, there's no grass clippings, but you get leaves and stuff, in there, that would block it too much, but yeah, there really should be an ordinance to not blow your grass, and even if it's non-curb streets, they can get slippery for motorcycles, bicycles, whatever. Don't you think, Steve? You're good with it. You blow your.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions?
The street sweeping,
Yeah.
since you brought that up,
Mm-hmm.
when are you guessing we're gonna go through and do some of that?
We just did a couple days ago.
Okay.
And then I had the guys clean all the gutters today because we expected rain.
Rain to tomorrow, let's know.
Yeah. I'm going for rain.
Whatever's moment decide.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Really good question.
I'm gonna make this short and sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah, because I'm usually asleep on the couch by this time.
He thinks.
All right. Not a whole lot going on, put the new vehicle in service, everything's up and running well. Did have to replace the mirror monitor, they sent me a new one, all good to go. We have the mock crash on Wednesday, anybody who's interested in coming out, I welcome you out there. It's real nice to see what fire EMS police do. It's all for the junior and senior classes for, getting ready for prom, distracted driving, OBUAC, things like that. Just a real nice safety presentation for the students. I did accept a letter of resignation from 2 officers actually, because by the time I printed this off, I had another officer come in and resign, which was James Ball. As you can see, John is a full-time officer in Pioneer, just with his new duties, newly promoted sergeant, weekend supervisor, things of that nature. He just couldn't, it was killing him to resign his position here, but it was something that he had to do to further his career in Pioneer. James Ball, been with us for about a year or so. James had some personal issues that, well, not issues, but personal reasons why he resigned. He lost his wife last year to cancer, and just with, you know, his children and their children, his grandchildren, he just wants to be able to devote more time to them. He told me, Steve, if I could do one thing different, I would definitely spend more time, you know, with my family. So, good on these guys. They were great officers, and I'm sure they'll do well here in the future. So, moving on to activity report, 76 total calls. We had 33 traffic warnings, 5 traffic citations, and we made 4 arrests since our last meeting. I did provide you guys with an updated roster.
Appreciate that, thank you. Thank you.
With, actually, James, 310, he's now gone,
Is
so.
he done now or?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So Jordan Williams actually moves up to
Moves up.
310.
Okay.
Leaves us a little short-handed. You know, it's kind of the nature of the beast when you only have 2 full-time officers and you depend solely or greatly on part-time officers. You know, with vacations, you know, always on the forefront, and quite frankly, you know, holiday weekends, it's tough to find guys that are willing to come in for $11 an hour on Memorial Day weekend, i.e. holiday pay. So, are there any questions?
I got a few that might pertain to you, Steve, I'm not sure that or the mayor. It's some traffic stuff, so I assume it's you. There's a sign in front of the school that's closer to Bill Brown's house. It talks about no semi-parking on that particular street.
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
Yeah, and quite often we see a semi parked closer to the party store section. Is that the same, or is that split at the street? I'm trying to say.
I believe Mr. Whitlock usually parks, he'll park out here every now and then, obviously with the snow, the way it was. And I know he's parked there in the past. I don't see it as a traffic hazard. You know, I mean, if we allow them to park there from 6A to 6P, you know, if he happens to be there at 7, 8 o'clock at night, he's going out that night. I don't, you know, my officers kind of typically take on their supervisors' attitudes. You know, if we can, you know, the guy works for a living, and I understand.
That was initiated out of the engine running all
The engine ordinances and things like that.
It wasn't a
Site
actual
distance,
parking.
and I'm sure all that stuff comes into play.
And I don't remember who was living there at the time where that's.
It was over a person that called in and said that they didn't want to see a truck for their view when they sat out there in the porch and stuff.
Actually, my dad probably used to park right up, actually, you know, further to the north. Like
Is that
in front of George Brown's.
Does that sign stipulate, like, from this point on, or that point on, or?
I can't.
I don't recall.
It's in the ordinance.
I know it's like 6P to 6A.
351.14.
Right.
Is there any of the property owners or the?
We haven't had any complaints on it. No, we've had no complaints on it whatsoever.
351.14.
I believe it was, yes.
Okay, let's take a look at that in our judiciary.
So Officer Steve is saying it doesn't bother him, then we don't enforce, or we do away with the ordinance, or what do we do?
He just said there's no need to judiciary. Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to visit it and see what it says and what, and I will actually do that prior to the meeting, but,
But I do think we have to keep in mind, we're not to leave. we're a small town striker, and yeah, he's gonna leave in an hour. It's 6 PM and he's supposed to be out there at 7.
That truck sits there all night.
Well, if
I don't know,
that's the
I'm not
case,
up all night, so I don't know.
You know, a lot of times, and I can't say that we, intentionally overlook things like that, Rick. If there's an issue, I would suggest calling our landline and be anonymous and calling a parking complaint. And then that way it forces that officer to handle that complaint. Because I don't see everything, my officers don't see everything when we're out on patrol. And a lot of times, if you don't get a complaint on it, you tend to overlook things. So if it's really that much of an issue, please call, or call me.
I have another one, Steve.
Mhm.
This is on traffic code also. It's, we have a 72-hour parking limit in town,
We sure did.
okay? The same vehicle, it's a white Riviera parked in front of Dr. Williams's. Sits there for 6 days and then he finally moves it. It's been happening the last few times. Also, I looked it up in the book today, 33509, 33510, talks about expired plates, and the vehicle has expired plates on it.
Okay.
Would that have to be moved, or what do we have to do with that?
That would have to be moved. If it's parked within the village right away with expired plates,
Right in front
I
of
believe he has maybe even 20, maybe not 24, I think it's 72 hours to move it.
72, I'm looking at it now. I actually spoke with Chief Slosher on that a week or so ago, and at the time, it was advised that the driver lost his driving privileges. So I, when speaking with Chief Slosher, asked if it had valid plates, and he thought it did.
We probably did at that time, they expired in March.
Okay. And so I requested that he speak to the vehicle owner and ask that it be moved every few days so that it would be legal. Obviously, if the plates have expired now, that doesn't make it legal any longer. And the owner will have to either get the plates renewed, or if he can, or she can. And so I'm sure you'll address that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next one.
Municipal lots, it says there's a 24-hour without charge, and after 24 hours, there's a charge. Do we ever charge? Or a lot, we'll be speaking from across the street from the last call, there's 2 vehicles sits there all the time. Do you ever charge young people, or we just ignore that too?
No,
I wasn't
I've
even
never
aware of
charged
that one.
No.
Is anybody else aware of that one?
351, 316.
Well, actually, what we're kind of doing is putting Chief Slusher on the spot on some of these ordinances. If there are ones that we need to address, bring it to the judiciary. We'll gladly review these. Definitely, and that's one of the things we talked about is judiciary, and I talked with administrator a couple of years ago, saying, I'd love to go through all of these.
Yeah.
And right now, actually with Rex here, we started at the beginning, and we're getting a lot of these other ones thrown out, so bring them to us.
Well, if you look at that section, it says, and I love this, it says the city may charge, doesn't say they shall or will, 50 cents a day, so I bet that one's been here a while.
So the ones you're asking us, I'm assuming you're asking us to look at is the 351, what are the 3 that you're wanting us to look at?
15 and 16 are 2 of them, and then the
14.
14 is the semi-parking.
And then 351, 15 and 16?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
14, 15, and 16.
That's 351.
Yeah.
Do you have some more you want us to look at?
Well, just, I've had a couple people at school ask me about, when I take the granddaughter to school, we haven't seen an officer at school for a while. Is that, you just been too busy, or
Well, that's the extended hours.
earlier in the morning?
Right. Yeah. The problem with that is the lights don't come on.
Oh, they're on
until
timers.
8 AM. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, I'm sure we could still, we're down there definitely in the afternoon. Now in the mornings, you know, there's really nothing that I can tell you on that. You know,
What time are they starting now?
7:55.
7:55?
They're
Who's in
starting
charge of
class.
those lights?
Yes.
So before the lights ever come on,
Mhm.
they're in session.
Right.
I think the school adjusts them.
Okay.
Is that, do you know that?
School's
does?
responsible.
Do they adjust those?
They have not.
But are they
Yeah,
the
we're
ones that
trying
have
to-
capability?
I don't know if they can or not.
Village bought them for the school, they paid for it, believe it or not.
We did.
They said that they were not going to pay for it, or, I'm sorry, I'm gonna rephrase that. Superintendent Johnson said, no good on that, so we,
So we now
So are
only
we
pay electric.
in charge of?
well, no, we're paying for the electric bill,
Yeah.
if you recall.
Yeah.
and all
I
that.
remember all
And the
this.
state put
The
the
Short
signs in.
Street
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
I
because-
remember that very well.
But the timer is set.
No, that's the schools.
The
They-
school
yeah,
have to do that.
They still have charge of it.
Interesting.
Is in, I just saw that, I read, that's just through this month that they're doing the extended, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe the first, maybe the first week.
I know they're there at night. So it's about time I'm coming to it.
Is there anything else? All right.
Thanks
Thank you.
Thanks for
You got
that
a
list
list.
comment to those two. Thank them too for the service.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
All right, that brings us to other.
Cool.
One about, curious about the village person, is that a general contract?
That's something that has been discussed quite a bit. We had Mr. Thompson and Mr. Walker come in and present, reference the previous council had thought about replacing our solicitor. And at the time, we were involved in a legal, let's call it a dispute, and didn't want to terminate his contract until that was over, and currently that's still in progress. It's reviewable at any point, it's not.
The
Is that a
Ohio Revised
month to month?
Code, the Ohio Revised Code states that the village solicitor, the council shall review his contract, his or her contract every 2 years. That being said, the contract that we have with Mr. Higgins is perpetual.
So, at any point.
I would think if we wanted to, we could look at anybody else. Mr. Higgins could be kept on for that. Regardless, he doesn't have to be on for quote unquote the town.
Well,
Special counsel,
Yeah, he could take care of that, yeah, we wouldn't say he would take care of that.
Didn't we talk, we did that with the last, didn't we do that last time? We said we wanted to look at some of the others.
Correct,
Other
and that's
than-
when these
didn't we do
gentlemen
that?
came in.
yeah. And
That's when they presented.
That's when they
There
came
was-
in and presented.
there were several people that we spoke about. Mr. Yosef, let's see, who else?
Mr. Thompson
And Thompson.
There were
Walker.
three of them.
Yeah, Thompson, those are the three right there. Plus, Mr. Higgins, he,
I think it's good if we brought somebody in and reviewed it. Gary knows that. I don't think this guy does a job, point blank, I just don't think he does.
So if that's something that council wants to readdress, obviously we can do that.
I would suggest it under personnel and off camera, personally. Just a suggestion.
I agree with
So I'll make a motion that we go into executive session and discuss personnel.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
So what do we do with this now?
It says to hit
Roll call.
hit the button you turned on. Beck,
Yes.
Squirrely,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheelan,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yep.